Well, greetings one and all, and welcome once again to Tom's Hit Parade. Yes, you get two live videos in the same weekend. Don't you feel honored? Anyway, yes, a couple of things that I wanted to talk about today. One that happened earlier this week that I just couldn't wait to share with you guys, and another thing that was actually going to be the topic of one of the videos that I was doing at the time that my camera broke. I think I'd actually gotten it filmed already, or I had filmed a version of it and I was about to scrap it because I didn't like how it turned out, and was going to film another one when my camera broke. So I'm finally bringing that to you. So yes, two things compiled into one video here. But oh, there's the back of my hands in case you were wondering. Or, no, the palms of my hands. Yay, anatomy. Anyway, but I don't think I can go start things out here before mentioning the tragedy at Astro World a couple of days ago. Such a horrible thing that happened. What was it? 8 people lost their lives in what was supposed to be a happy occasion, a music festival, and unfortunately, crowd management, I guess, was not what it should have been, and unfortunately, a bunch of people had to lose their lives, and it's awful. My thoughts and condolences to the families and friends of the victims there. It's just a bad tragedy. It's like that's something you don't want a music festival to be remembered for, is loss of life. So I personally have never been a particular fan of Travis Scott, not for any particular reason. I'm just not into his music. Hey, Burger Man, how's it going? I like your username, by the way. So yes, I'm not, losing anything in terms of respect or appreciation of an artist that I didn't necessarily have before this happening. So, that for me, that's neither here nor there, but still, terrible thing to have happen. So, yes, awful stuff. But now that we have started on gotten the unpleasant stuff out of the way, let's get on to the cool and fun stuff. So yes, a little setup for the first part of thing that I'm about to show you. As you can see in the title of the video, huge CD haul. That's what it's going to be here. Yes, agreed, Burger Man. Tuesday, this past Tuesday, I was over at House of Records, just doing my usual browsing. I go there almost every day of the week, which is a good thing, but also a bad thing. In terms of your wallet, it's kind of a bad thing. But anyway, and freebie shelf. I've talked about the freebie shelf before. That's where I get my rescue records. On the freebie shelf, they had two huge CD binders. The binders that have pages in them with little plastic pockets that you can put CDs in. 2 high and 2 wide, so it's one of those big. Well, here it is right here. One of the big 12 by 12 binders full of CDs, and this is 40 pages, and so this is how thick the spine of this thing is. I see. Yes, there were two of these on the freebie shelf at House of Records. Obviously, this CDs that don't have inserts with them, obviously the store doesn't want to buy them, so because they can't resell them. And there was also a little box, kind of like a little shoebox, full of loose CDs and inserts and miscellaneous junk. And I'll tell you in a minute what got me intrigued enough to grab all this stuff. But yes, I got one of those storage boxes, 12 by 12 by such and such, 24. Cardboard storage boxes with the little carry handles, and put both binders and that little box full of miscellaneous stuff in, and hauled it back to the office. And yes, you should have seen me walking down the street with this big box. It was pretty hilarious. Not that I had a problem carrying it, but still, just this is the side of it, And so yes, I'm going to show you what came out of these binders. And actually, that afternoon, fortunately, it was very, very quiet at work. The original owner of these CDs had put the CD in one pocket and the liner notes, which he had just cut out with scissors, the track listing, in the pocket beside it. And there were some blank spaces, some blank pages. So each of the two binders was only holding about 40% of the CDs that it could. So it was quiet enough that afternoon at work that I was able to take the second binder, the contents from the second binder, rearrange and get all the CDs. We're talking about 300 CDs here, okay? Yes, you didn't hear that wrong. 300 CDs into one binder, which I brought home. And another beautiful thing about this binder is it's got a carry handle on it, so I could carry it like a briefcase home from work. And it's got, as you can see, a zipper closure on all three sides, which is still in perfect working condition, as is the case with the other one. So yes, aside from being a little bit dirty and just a little bit dirty on the outsides. These binders are in excellent condition. All the pages were intact, no torn or broken pages or anything. And I have not vetted the conditions of all the CDs, but the ones that I looked at, the CDs were in really pretty good condition too. So the guy obviously took care of the CDs, even though he just, I guess, probably just outgrew the genres contained herein, or just didn't have use for the CDs, or it may have been a person who had passed away, and it was their child who didn't know what to do with the CDs, so that's what he did with them. But anyway, I just thought I pretty much know what's in here, but I just thought it would be fun to show you guys what's in here. It's very interesting. And oh yes, we got started out with the first section is Christmas music. A bunch of little stuff here. I'm going to try and keep myself in the frame here. I'm not going to see all the CDs, but there's a whole bunch of different Christmas titles of various types, along with, and we'll get to the. I mentioned there was a reason why I picked these things up. Normally, I wouldn't care for CDs that don't have the full set of inserts or in cases. But what intrigued me about this and convinced me to bring it home, I'll get to in a minute as when we get to those CDs. Yeah, we've got Christmas, and there's a whole bunch of New Age and nature stuff in here. The instrumental stuff from the late 80s, early 90s. And we've got several different sets or series of CDs in here. Like we've got 3 CDs. This is a 3 CD set of Henry Mancini. Took me a second to remember. And then 4 different albums by Secret Garden, which was a New Age group that was popular in the 90s. So yeah, and there are more series to come, believe it or not. And bunches of New Age compilations, a couple of jazz compilations, but there are some better known artists in here as well. We've got Bernstein with some of his compositions, the classical composer Bernstein. And I'm trying not to forget any of the more noteworthy things. Mason Williams, the Mason Williams phonograph record, which was one of my Backtrack Spotlight albums last year before. We have a 2 CD set of Andrew Lloyd Webber stuff, a couple of Yanni CDs. I think I actually have both of these on CD already. So I've mentioned before that Yanni was pretty tolerable and more energetic in his early years, as opposed to what I call the snooze fest stuff that he's put out recently. And have we gotten to him yet? Yes, Pat Metheny. There are like several CDs. Oh, armrests. I could put these on armrests. Well, no, it'll still be out of frame. Yes, Pat Metheny is a jazz guitarist, I believe. I've always been meaning to check him out, and I never got around to it. And there are like 4 or 5 Pat Metheny CDs in here. So, and one cool thing about, upside and an unexpected upside of not having the inserts is I can scratch my little creative itch that I used to love to do with my Hit Parade CDs. That's how my channel got its name. Was I would make compilation CDs of my favorite music from the previous year at Christmas time and make custom inserts for it and all that stuff and give them out to my friends. And I haven't done that in a couple of years since I stopped making my Hit Parade CDs. So now the CDs that I want to keep out of here, I can make inserts, custom inserts for them if the album art is not available. And as I was talking a minute ago about, there's a whole bunch of series in here. A couple of them that I'm planning on keeping. I have multi-disc CD cases, so I can put those series into one CD case and make custom inserts for them. It's very cool. A couple of Charlotte Church albums here. We got 3 CDs by Enya, the very wonderful New Age artist, if you haven't listened to her. And this is not an Enya. I can't remember who that one is. But we've got the opera Carmen over here. And there's another opera somewhere in here. Can't remember. And one of the non-New Age things, a 2 CD set of the Bee Gees' greatest hits. Their greatest hits, the record, is these 2 CDs here. So some popular artists in here, as well as, I can't remember if I've passed them yet, but the Carpenters. There's a Carpenter CD in here, and at least one Peter, Paul, and Mary CD. So, and we have 4 CDs by Sarah Brightman on this page. As you can see, I tried to organize them pretty much. Carly Simon's greatest hits. So, and just some more New Age stuff. And okay, now we're going to be getting to the thing that convinced me to pick up this set. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, there was a new age label called Narada. That was one of my first big things that I got into with music was new age music. Yes, go ahead and bring the ridicule if you want. I was young back then, what can I say? And several of the CDs in here are ones that I had actually owned at one point. I got rid of most of them just because I kind of got over my new age phase for the most part. But these were some of the first ones that I saw when I was paging through these things at the House of Records, which convinced me to pick them up. And I want to re-listen to and re-explore some of that new age stuff. So we've got Peter Buffett and Bruce Mitchell. I think I have, I don't know if it's these two CDs that I still have. There were a handful, maybe a half a dozen that I still kept from that period of the Narada CDs. I think I might have these two CDs, I can't remember. And other ones that from artists that I do have, but albums, other albums by artists that I do have. I will either piggyback them, as I say, onto the CDs that I actually have with the liner notes and everything, or I'll just make up separate jewel cases and stuff. Two CDs from the NPR All Songs Considered series, which I'm very interested to hear what these are like, because I've actually never listened to the radio show, so I don't know the kind of stuff that they played. I don't know if it's still an ongoing series or not, but hey, for the price that I got these for, which was $0.00, I'm not complaining at all. And then you've got some more stuff. Patrick O'Hearn was that's this one right here. He was another new age artist, but on a different label other than Narada, whose stuff that I really enjoyed. We have Carol Nethan, or Nethan, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Several CDs by David Arkenstone, who was one of the, I think he ended up being one of the more well-known new age artists. In fact, I think he might even still be recording. And then another Peter Buffett. So yeah, there are two Peter Buffett CDs in here. Unless that's two copies of the same one. I can't remember. And we have Colin Chin is another one. A lot of these artists you probably have no idea who they are. A few pages back was the Narada put out a greatest hits series, which they could just call the Narada Collection, and there were all 5. I think they only made 5 volumes of it, but all 5 of them are in here. So that's one of the series that I'm going to put in that into one of the multi-disc cases, and all 4 volumes of the Pure Moods series. So yes, again, yeah, pack those into a 4-disc CD case. A few more Narada compilations, Narada World Music compilation stuff, some samplers. As you can see, there's, here it is, the Narada Collection series. 4 and, it's hard for me to see from this angle, but yeah. Trust me, all 5 of them are in here, trust me. And Narada put out a couple of Christmas collections, so those are in here as well, 2 of those. And a couple other series. We've got Spanish guitar, 2 discs of Spanish guitar in here. So I'm not a huge fan of Spanish guitar, but and a disc of flamenco music. I've got a couple of friends are probably going to enjoy a lot of these CDs. The ones that I decide not to keep for myself. And some more miscellaneous classical stuff, and Les Paul and Mary Ford. I already have a compilation of theirs, but this has, I think this has other music on it. And what else do we have? It's very hard to see these from this angle. I am discovering right now. More compilations and stuff. The Beauty and the Beast soundtrack from Disney. And, this one, I don't know if you can read it from there, but the label is entirely in Japanese, so I have absolutely no idea what this. Oh, actually, the top line says, "Sweet loving message." I will assume there's a sweet loving message on here. Anyway, we'll be getting to, here they are. We're getting to some of the, several of the CDs, probably a couple of dozen, had their complete inserts, and so I just kind of put them in here just for space-saving considerations. But you can see we have a 3-disc series of Folk Rewind. This was, I think, put out by Time Life Music. So yeah, that'll be kind of cool. And a Peter, Paul, and Mary compilation right down here. And a John Barry compilation. He did a lot of film music, movie scores back in the day. Yeah, I could hold it up like this, but this is kind of tiring. Russell Watson. He's one of those opera pop crossover guys. And we have Paul Potts, who was, I think, a Britain's Got Talent winner or something like that, or an X Factor winner, I think. We got the soundtrack from Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. That could be interesting to listen to. A movie that I confess I have never seen in my life. There's way too many movies that I should have seen that I haven't yet. And another John Barry collection. He did a lot of the several of the James Bond movie scores. So that's one thing he's famous for. Another David Arkenstone, I think the only one that had the complete inserts with it. And another Narada collection here. We got a 2-disc set of pop song hits from the 70s and 80s called Always. That'll be fun to see. And another in the Pure Mood series, Celtic Moods here. So I am trying not to drop this binder because that'd make a lot of noise. And then, and here we are at the end. These 6 CDRs here, this is kind of a fun story. There were a handful of other CDRs. Yeah, out of all these, only about a dozen CDs were burned CDs. All the other ones are the genuine article. But these, I was too curious because, as you can see, they're just labeled CD number 1, CD number 2, etc. And so I put them in my computer. I probably should have put them in a CD player first. But then my computer is pretty well protected from hidden viruses that might be hiding on CDs and whatnot. But no, these are music CDs, and they are just new age compilations that the owner or one of his more computer savvy friends made for him or her. And yes, interestingly enough, when I put them in my computer, the track listings populated with the song titles and artists. So I don't know if those were somehow stored on the CDs or what, because the CDs are definitely home-burn compilations, so they're not in any database. So I thought that was, excuse me, I thought it was kind of interesting. So, but yeah, I really went through that kind of quickly, but actually I didn't, because I spent almost 20 minutes on it. So yes, I was just kind of blown away that I got this many CDs for free. And some of them may not play, and I will probably get rid of at least a third of them because they're just stuff that I just don't care for. But I'm going to have fun re-exploring my new age music listening roots, I guess you'd say. So a lot of that stuff. I do have a couple of compilations that I made back when I first had my first CD burner and wanted to keep a handful of the songs that I really enjoyed. Still got a couple of those compilations, but a lot of the full albums and stuff are gone, and well, they were gone, now they're back. So yeah, as I said, I'm going to have lots of fun with this, and I had to show you guys and tell you the story of it. It was just lots of fun. As you can hear, the zipper still works perfectly, so I don't know if I'm going to keep the binder or not, because I like to keep my CDs in their jewel cases or whatnot and have them on my shelf so that I can look at them. But who knows? I might keep one of the binders. The other one is probably going to go to Goodwill or whatnot. But yeah, you couldn't ask for a better spontaneous find at the store, could you? And yeah, new age music is kind of, I don't know if it necessarily sounds cheesy now, but a lot of it was done with synthesizers and electronics, so some of it probably does sound dated, but some of it does have interesting textures and stuff as a result of that. Just kind of synthesizers and stuff that they really just don't use anymore. And it's good for nice, not unobtrusive background music, like for when you're studying or working on the books or whatever. And to top it off, there was an assortment of cases, 4 of these little clamshell cases and stuff, and a couple of little pockets, sleeves like they're in the binders, but a bunch of the thin jewel cases. So the ones that I don't keep for myself will probably go into there, or I don't know what's going to happen to them. Who knows? But anyway, so yes, that is the first half of my video for today. And another thing was, yeah, it's about, I'll just launch into it. I've decided, I came to a momentous decision recently to get rid of my iPods. Yes, I can't remember what. It's been long enough now that I can't remember what exactly was the impetus for that. Oh, yeah, my iPod Touch has started to act up. If for some reason I don't know why. And so I decided, since I really don't have the money to buy a new iPod Touch again, and also I'm actually, I don't want to get ahead of myself because some of this is probably going to be in the notes that I have prepared. So bear with me here. Okay, here we go. So yes, I'm going to be getting rid of my iPods, but I thought I would couch that in sort of a little oral history of my on-the-go music listening habits. So let's get started and do away with any more awkward silence and stumblings. Or choking. So anyway, for some reason, I didn't really start listening to music on the go until I was in my 20s. I had already started building a CD library at that point, but I didn't yet have a portable CD player. The only personal listening device I had back then was a Walkman cassette player. So I would make compilations or sometimes straight album-to-album transfers from CD to tape so that I could, go take them along with me on walks or bike rides or whatever to listen to. Now, at the time, we lived in a small town that didn't yet have door-to-door mail delivery. Everybody had P.O. boxes, so you had to go to the post office to get your mail. We lived at one end of town, and every day I'd walk or bike to the post office, which was in the middle of town, then go have lunch at the Burger King, which was at the far end of town. And then I would wander my way back home. I worked a swing shift, so I was able to do that in around lunchtime. This was the first time I really connected with music as a traveling companion, because I would have that hour or so every day to listen to music right there in my ears. And shortly after we moved up here to Oregon, I finally bought my first Discman. It wasn't perfect. It was one of the models that was put out before they all had skip protection. So when I went on walks, I'd be greeted every minute or so by an abrupt stutter in the music. And for that reason, I'm pretty sure that I hung on to my tape player for a little while longer. I don't remember for sure, though, but I think I was. I did hang on to it until I was able to upgrade to a skip-proof CD player. By 2001, I had started learning about MP3 players, which could hold anywhere from a few dozen to a few hundred albums worth of music. And that started to intrigue me. My trust in the Sony brand, thanks to the many years of enjoyment I got out of my Walkman and my Discman, led me to the mini disc format. And so probably did its resemblance to the 3.5-inch floppy disk, because I was had been into computers for a while, and so there were similarities in the format. So yes, it probably kind of a little weird because iPods had come out, and so they were starting to get popular, but I went with something else. Kind of like my parents when VHS players were coming out. What did we get at first? A Betamax VCR. So anyway, yes, the Discman, or the mini disc, sorry, was not a true MP3 player, but I couldn't yet afford an iPod. Plus, it felt like overkill to have a device that could hold that much music, because I wasn't really, really deep into music at that point. So I was fine with the mini disc's capacity of about 5 albums per disc, especially since I could easily carry 2 or 3 discs along with the player. But the clumsy and slow process of transferring songs over the computer started to get to me after a while. By this time, I had started getting more and more into music, so in 2005, once I had a computer that could handle iTunes, I bought my first iPod, the second generation iPod mini. Not only did I appreciate how elegantly user-friendly the click wheel was, not that a more complicated interface would have scared me or anything, because the mini disc didn't, and it was fairly complicated, but I loved how fast and easy it was to load it with songs. I loved it so much that just a few years later, I upgraded to the iPod Classic, which is this one right here. I still have it. The fact that it could play video was enticing to me. I remember buying a handful of my favorite music videos from the iTunes store and watching them on that tiny little screen. Yes, this sits right next to my eyes right now. That's how small it was. And for the first time, I had a player that could hold all the music I could possibly be in the mood for at any given time. But then a few years later, I lost it. No, I didn't lose it. I lost my iPod. Let's clarify here. I came back from a trip to Portland and couldn't find it anywhere. I hated myself for losing it, but thankfully I could stretch my budget. By this time I could not go without a music player. And I went for the next leap forward in the Apple family, the 4th generation iPod Touch. which you see here. So as you can see, I still have both, and I'll get to that story in a second. Not only could I have music and video, but games, a web browser, a camera, and tons more stuff. This was before I had my first smartphone. One thing I'd use my iPod Touch regularly for was reading PDFs, mostly of articles and columns about music or other interests that I had downloaded off the web, reformatted for easy reading on the Touch's little screen, and that I'd read during my lunch breaks at work. Fast forward a couple more years, I'm cleaning out a tote bag that I'm about to get rid of, one that had way too many secret compartments and pockets. And what do I find? Yep, my iPod Classic. Now I hated myself a little bit more for not being more thorough in my search for it, but at least I had a spare iPod now, and for a while I used both of them interchangeably depending on my mood. But then once I got my first smartphone, which was pretty late compared to the rest of the world, I'm usually that way. I'm a little bit behind, a few steps behind in the technology pace that everybody else is at. The Touch became redundant except for its ability to play music. But I still used both players until the Classic's headphone jack started fritzing out in one ear, and eventually the same thing happened to the iPod Touch. That's when I took advantage of its wireless function and got my first pair of Bluetooth headphones. Now my iPod Touch has a patch of dead pixels in a corner of the screen. Its firmware hasn't been able to update, since iOS 6, which was several years ago, and it started to occasionally get a little bit randomly temperamental in its old age. So you can't say I didn't use both of the iPods until I couldn't use them anymore. But now it's become unnecessary and frankly a little bit of a hassle to carry around and maintain a whole separate gadget, whose only purpose is to play music. I can stream on my phone, but not quite to my heart's content because I do have a limited data plan per month. But it would stand reason that I could store MP3s on my phone and play them, right? So I looked around for an app for playing locally stored music and found one called Musicalet. It works very, very well. It's free. That's another huge plus, and has no ads. And it doesn't even connect to the internet at all since it has no reason to. But as you can imagine, it's a bit more cumbersome to transfer music to my phone than it was to my iPod. I mean, you had your iPod and iTunes, seamless. But I'm looking at, and now I see that my notes are a little bit out of date. I was looking at one or two apps online for a while that had companion apps for the PC in the hopes of making the syncing process easier. And I did try Media Monkey for a while, but the PC version of it would crash on me a couple of times. And so there's just something about it other than that I just didn't like. So I got rid of it. And I eventually found an app for the PC called Music-Bee. It does not have an Android app. I have an Android phone, not an iPhone. So it is still two separate apps, but I realized a few weeks ago that Music-Bee can sync with your phone. It can sync songs to your phone's whatever folder you choose on your phone. So the syncing problem is pretty much resolved, and so that's just awesome for me. I mean, it's no issue for me otherwise to just have a separate folder, and that's what I was going to do at first. Was I had a separate folder on my computer's on my phone's micro SD card. I think it was called Music, and I would just copy stuff to a folder on my PC that's called Music, and then just transfer, sync up the two folders. But now I found that Music-Bee does it for me. And another great plus is that it transfers the album art as well. So I'm not left with just this empty black box with a music note icon in it. So it's another huge plus. And but yes, bottom line here is that I am now able to finally say goodbye to my two iPods. It's a bittersweet occasion for sure, since I've probably listened to music on iPods for longer than any of my other on-the-go devices, my Walkman, my Discman, and my mini disc. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you to myself because I remembered. 15 years or so I've been listening on iPods, compared with about 5 years each for my cassette and CD players, and just a few short years with the mini disc. So going from an iPod Touch to a smartphone is not much of a transition. It's the same touch screen interface, pretty much. But the end of my iPod era is still a bit sad for me. And when I finally ditched my iTunes software, which I actually did, and believe it or not, there was so much stuff in my iTunes library that I never listened to or watched anymore. I freed up, and I am not even kidding here, 100 gigabytes of free space on my computer. That's good, huh? Just amazing. So, and yes, and when I ditched my iTunes software, that made it feel more like the true end of an era. Sorry, I heard something in the kitchen. Sorry. Um, and as of the time I wrote these notes, I was still ripping CDs via iTunes and then transferring them. But yes, now I have Music.Bee, and Music.Bee is wonderful. I got to say, a nice basic interface. It's like all the stuff that I really need for ripping and transferring and listening to music is in Music.Bee, and it's never crashed on me once. It's got all sorts of different skins. You can change the look of it and all that stuff, and the interface and all the variables in the interface and stuff. It's just an amazing program. If you're looking for a basic music player and something that you can sync to a phone, I would recommend Music.Bee. Check it out. But anyway, there's one more benchmark or milestone that has happened at the same time. I have replaced what I talked about a few minutes ago, my set of Bluetooth headphones. And yes, the reason I replaced these, they still worked okay. It's just, I don't know if you can see it from here, but the lining, I don't know if it's a fake vinyl or lining or whatever, has begun to flake off, and it would leave disgusting flakes on my head and neck at the end of the day. So that's the end of those notes. I can ad lib for the rest of this. Yes, I got rid of those headphones, and I decided to look for some others. Since my phone has Bluetooth, I don't think I'd be able to get along with a phone that didn't have Bluetooth, even though the headphone jack does work perfectly on my phone still. But yes, I've shopped around for a little while. Excuse me, I had to get another prop. And I finally found another set of headphones, one by Audio-Technica. I decided to go with a brand name. They make a turntable that is apparently first rate. I've never had an Audio-Technica turntable, but it gets raves on the internet all over. You go to pretty much any vinyl YouTuber and they will recommend the Audio-Technica LP40 thing is. Well, but any Audio-Technica turntable they recommend. So I figured their headphones have got to be just as good. And these are the ATH SR30BT Bluetooth phones. They cost me about $100. So a bit of an investment, but they are so worth it. And I didn't realize how uncomfortable my old Philips headphones were until I used the Audio-Technica. Now, for one thing, the Philips just had a hard headband on them, but the Audio-Technicas are cushioned, and the ear cups. And this was one thing that I was looking for in a set of headphones. The ear cups go all the way around your ears, over and around your ears, whereas the Philips just sat on your ears. So yes, the over-the-ear phones were. Now, do I have any flakies? Oh no, I don't have any flakies. Yay! So yes, it was worth it for the comfort factor alone for me. And they pair perfectly. I had no problems pairing them. I actually used them for the last week or so with my iPod. They paired with my iPod just fine, and they paired with my Android phone perfectly. No issues at all. So very, very happy with my headphones. And it's kind of a relief in a way, but still kind of a bittersweet occasion to have finally cut the cord, so to speak, with my iPod and my iTunes. And yes, the iPods are now going to, another funny story. When I exchanged my first iPod, my iPod mini, for, I think I upgraded to a classic at that point, there was a website, I think it was called podswap.com. There's a new iteration. If it was podswap.com, there's a new iteration. They actually buy, sell, and trade the AirPods now. But yes, there was a site, I think it was called podswap.com, where you could actually buy, sell, and trade used iPods. And so that's what I did. I got, what did I get, 40, 50 bucks for my iPod mini, because it was still in working condition. I just wanted something that had more storage space on it. So I went looking for a site, since there is no podswap.com anymore, not my version of podswap.com, so to speak. So I went looking on websites to see if there was anybody that bought used iPods anymore. And there are a couple of them out there, but I put in, plugged in all the variables for my iPod Touch and the condition that it's in, I would have gotten $3 for it. Wow. So needless to say, these iPods are just going in the Goodwill section. Or we actually have a outfit locally here that takes donations of used electronics, and they cannibalize them for use with with restoring and repairing other electronics, or they restore them and resell them. Even old cell phones, they wipe the cell phone from with all your old data on it. They wipe it clean and repair it, restore it, or whatever, and turn around and sell it. And the proceeds go to help charitable causes in the area. So that's where all this stuff is going. My two old iPods. Goodbye, iPods. And there were a couple of the cases that I had my iPods in, and my old headphones. I think I could have bought new replacement earpads for those old headphones, but as I said, once I put these new Audio Technicas on, forget it. The old Philips, as trusty as they were, and they lasted me like a long time, like 6 years. Trusty, but not comfortable. Anyway, I am able to also get rid of, since those were my last Apple gadgets at all, the old charging block. Unless anybody wants this, you can probably get it for cheap anywhere now. But yeah, I'm going to be getting rid of the old charging block here. And not one, not two, but I don't know how I ended up with 3 of the USB. These are not lightning cables, so don't go asking for these thinking they're lightning cables, but they're the old long skinny dot connectors. Yes, I don't know how I ended up with 3 of these, but I did, and they're going bye-bye. So yeah. Well, those were the 2 topics that I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to get the ode to my iPod done, so that because I wanted to show them in video, so now I can get rid of them and take them to the donation center, because they've been sitting in a bag on my bedroom floor for like 2 months. So yes, I can get rid of those. And I tell you, I'm going to have so much fun going through these CDs. It's just going to be crazy, crazy fun. And yeah, and designing the CD inserts. I suppose if I had gotten a formal education and was hireable in a professional capacity, that's probably what I would be doing for a living. Because I can, when I did it every year for Christmas, and when I made CDs, mixed CDs for friends and stuff for other occasions, I could lose hours literally sitting at the computer making the inserts and designing them and stuff. It was just a little passion of mine. So in some ways, I might actually have more fun doing that than actually listening to the CDs. Yes, I'm crazy that way. And yes, which, as I've said to a couple of my friends here, when I told them that I got these 300 CDs, I had just told them like last week that I had been buying too many CDs. The stack of my not yet listened to CDs had still been growing, or at least staying the same, ever since I came back from my trip to Oklahoma. And we're talking 4 dozen CDs that I have yet to listen to. But for some reason, I would be stopping at the 2 stores local near my workplace and buying CDs. I wasn't spending a lot on them. I was buying budget CDs, but still, it's like, come on, Tom, enough already, right? And then after I said, yeah, I come home with 300 CDs, but those were free. Hey, come on, right? Anyway, yes, I would steadfastly say that you can never have too much music, but I'm starting to finally believe in the too much of anything is not necessarily a good thing adage. So there you go. So yeah, well, that is my video. It's not quite been an hour, but this was going to be a special video anyway, a special bonus extra appended, whatever. I'm trying to come up with more synonyms, more redundancies, but I guess that's it. But anyway, anybody have any questions? Want to kill a few more minutes here? The sun is shining here. It's been off and on rain here for the last several days. We've had a lot of rain so far this fall in Oregon. Yay! Because we've needed it. But yeah, the sun is shining now, and we've got brownies in the oven. So it's been a good weekend, I gotta say. So guys, I hope you enjoyed watching this fun little extra video. And yes, you looky-loos who love to just watch see what other people have hauled in the way of CDs and whatnot. I hope you guys had fun watching that part. And yeah, well, I guess I will let you guys go. I don't want to take up too much more dead air here and just with, staring at the screen saying how good the weather is and all that. So that'll do it for this video, this extra bonus live stream. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, hit that like button and share it with your friends, and give me your thoughts, questions, suggestions, or constructive criticisms in the comment section below. Water break. Also, scroll down to the description for the links to my Twitter and Instagram feeds and links to my favorite fellow YouTubers who are all worth checking out. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and browse my past videos, and be sure to ring that notifications bell so you'll be the first to know each time I drop a new video. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. You might have noticed, or you might not have, if all you do is watch the live stream and don't watch the video again. Usually the next day after I do the live streams, I update the descriptions and stuff to include chapter markers. So if you've been waiting to watch my 50 favorite CDs of the 2000s video that I did Friday night and you haven't yet, you can leave off in the middle of it without fear of having to just seek randomly to find your place, because I do have them marked, chaptered out, each 10 CDs. So you'll be able to conveniently find a place. And if you don't care about the bottom 40 and you just want to watch the top 10, you can snap right to the top 10. Aren't I nice and considerate that way? Anyway, just so you know, so yes, probably tomorrow I'll just put a chapter marker between my CD haul and my ode to my iPods. Anyway, otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next Friday, and remember, life's too short to be a music snob. See you guys.